well, this is obviously our first ever live podcast. We'll do our regular roll-in, and we've actually, I don't think, ever been in the same room together when we've actually done one of these. We've been in separate rooms, which makes this a little awkward.
We're a little close.
Yeah, well, this is the best close we can get. But for those of you that are not here and are not watching on Facebook Live creepily, welcome. Crushing Iron podcast episode 299?
I think it's 300, bro.
Okay, 300. Dang it.
Unbelievable.
We had some signs made up that I could lift up and say applause, please, but we forgot those. So intermittently, if you could add those, that would be fantastic. Oh, Rebecca with that's not even a good picture of me.
Yeah, look at mine, dude. That's a game face right there.
But no, so for the other 19 of you that are actually listening in right now, we are at Madison, Wisconsin at the Best Western Premier Park Hotel hosting episode 300. So if this is your first time listening, we appreciate you tuning in. We have about 3 people in the audience, my mom, Mike's mom, and Maddie. So we had a pretty big turn, but no, there's probably 50 or 60 people in here, so a really good showing. And we're going to go over a couple things first about Ironman Wisconsin. We'll introduce our guest caster, is that what we would call?
Guest caster.
And then we'll talk for a little bit, and then we're actually just going to open up this podcast to Q&A. It can be about Ironman Wisconsin. It can be about anything podcast related. And since I have a lot of athletes in here, just please keep it appropriate and keep it within bounds. But I just wanted to ask, because you're racing on Sunday.
I am.
How are you feeling?
I feel good. This is the first day I feel like that anxiety and those nerves are kind of starting to fade away a little bit. I'm sure they'll come back tomorrow night, but right now, I don't know. Maybe you can explain that as a coach, why the midweek of the last week of the taper becomes sort of like this, volcano of stress ready to erupt.
You're going to put me on the spot right now.
You want to answer that
I was
later?
looking for like a soft opening, but that was a kind of
How's your
tough
room?
one. Right, yeah. So how was your room treating you in the view? I think it's common for a lot of reasons. I think a lot of it has to do with travel and stress. Most athletes they get everything packed. They are kind of tidying up the rest of their work week and family obligations, which you don't really have any of those. But
hey, I've got a dog.
Yeah, you do have a dog that you have to get squared away. And I just think it's more of like they know they're about to arrive on site and they're starting to get really, really fresh. And then some of those like really phantom taper pains come out, like running with time this morning. He said his big toe was hurting, which is obviously, probably going to ruin his race. But I think everyone has like odd things pop up. But yeah, Tommy's in the crowd. Woohoo, Tommy. But no, I think it's pretty common. But so you're feeling good.
Yeah, I feel good. I feel pretty good. I mean, you get to a point where you just got to realize that you trained hard, and these weird few days here, you just kind of hope that energy comes back, and I feel like it does. And it's you just have to go out, and a lot of people have been emailing me about go out and have fun, and that's what I tell them a lot. And I'm trying to remember that myself, because frankly, this is like the first, well, I feel like in a lot of ways, because of the podcast that, a lot of people kind of know I'm racing, so I've kind of been
there's like
about that.
30 to 40 people that actually know you're racing.
I know. So I don't know. I just want to do good, and I want to show out, and I feel like you put me on a great training plan. We've got
Do you feel like you've added pressure to yourself?
A little bit, but there's part of me that likes that. I think I've talked to you about that before, where in some ways I like to put a little more pressure on myself and sort of back myself into a corner and, find something deeper. The whole thing, I guess, is being able to control that mentally and not let it stress you out. But it's sort of like, all right, we're going to fight now, and just channel that energy in the right way. But yeah, so a little bit of pressure I put on myself, but for the most part, I'm going to go out and have fun, and I'm really, we rode the bike course yesterday, or drove it, and I'm really excited to ride it.
We did not ride the bike course yesterday.
He told me to ride the bike course.
just want to be very clear on that. We did not ride the bike course yesterday. Mike rode in
there
the
were
car.
some guys out there riding it.
And rode it. But if you're not here or you are racing, you're listening to this, the weather is going to be fantastic. It is. I'm not sure how it is in the rest of the country, but it is fall here in Madison, and it is awesome. The weather's going to be fantastic. At least the last time I checked, no rain, cloudy, overcast, cool. It's going to be like freaking magic. So,
yeah, it could be another lesson, and don't look at the weather too early.
Exactly. Everybody's brought, so I got to share a little bit of a story because just to kind of, where I'm going with this, don't you? The shoes.
What shoes?
Your cycling shoes.
Oh, my cycling shoes. Yeah, you can go.
Yeah, I can.
How did I know? How would I know that you're going there?
I mean, we do that quite often. So
I knew.
We're texting back and forth on Wednesday, and I'm talking about it could be really cold, and maybe some options for what to wear, what not to wear, things to bring. And he sends me this picture on my phone of his cycling shoes, Saran wrapped, and he says, "I'm thinking about going with this. Thoughts?" And I don't even think I responded.
He sent back one of those.
Yeah, I think I gave like a thumb down emoji. I was like, I think we're going a little overboard with the Saran wrap. But you did have a great idea. I think it's going to be a little warmer than we originally expected, but you did have a good one with the regular full finger gloves with double layered with the latex glove on top.
That wasn't bad. I don't know if it's going to be cold enough for that.
It's not, but there's probably
But I am going.
I wanted to go with that.
We don't. I mean, I don't wear bike gloves a lot, but I think I might wear them out here because it's a little bumpy. And if
you wore bike gloves in your first Ironman, Wisconsin.
I know you shook your head on me.
Yeah,
but no, it was
still shaking my head on it. But still,
no, I'll probably do it.
It's probably.
By the way, I think I might still go with the Saran wrap on one shoe. It's on one shoe, and I rode it yesterday. I'm like, this ain't bad.
You're not wearing our kit, are you?
I am.
All right. Well,
but I've got toe warmers. You can't really tell.
All right, sweet. We can talk about that.
I think I will do toe warmers.
So before we get, a little bit further, we obviously have someone else we're going to bring up, but we just wanted to, before we do like the Q&A portion, is just to extend a big thank you to everybody that actually showed up today, and the fact that we've made it like almost 3 years and 300 casts doing this.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you. Give yourselves a round of applause.
Yeah.
And for you people on Facebook Live listening and watching, creepily, at two average-looking dudes with no backdrop talking to a microphone in a really weird conference room, we appreciate you Facebook Live people.
Yes, we do.
And
the group here is awesome. Like, meet everybody here because everyone I know here is awesome, and I plan on meeting everybody. And it kind of blows us away a little bit, right? About how many cool people want to be involed.
Yeah, it does. Because generally speaking, I'm kind of a pessimist when it comes to people. But I'm constantly shocked and surprised at how many really, really awesome people we've met and that are in this room and that have we've met through this podcast. And I think just having this in Madison is cool. This is obviously the first race that I coached you to the full. Madison is the first race, the first Ironman I ever attended in terms of spectating, and so it's a pretty special place for me. And then was the first race I did after Hayden was born. We did this 3 years ago, so Madison is it's a special city for me. I know for a lot of other people, and so very cool venue. Thank you for being here, and for those of you that are listening to this in your car right now via iTunes, we appreciate you listening. This is actually a triathlon-related podcast, which you might not have gotten that yet, but go back, dig through the archives. We have 299 other episodes to go into. Some of them are pretty good. Some of them are average, but there's some pretty good content in there. We cover everything from triathlon, life, how they intersect, and then hopefully share our experiences to help you have a better training life yourself. So we have you're kind of special. We're gonna bring in a guest caster. Is that what we're chosen to call it?
Yeah.
Guest caster, Jessica Jacobs. I've been working with you since 6 months. Sorry, it's our 6 month anniversary.
Should I leave?
Yeah, I mean, no, yeah, you did bring me chocolate. I mean, that's the way to my heart.
Yeah,
Allie,
and
I'm
he
bringing
stole-
some home.
Where's
It's not
mine?
a lot of chocolate. It's like a little bit of chocolate. It's like 2 pieces. Yeah, it was like 3 bags. But no, come on up. This is Jessica Jacobs. She's. So I would just probably go into your background, but I'd probably butcher the exact dates of. But you're racing on Sunday. You raced professionally for how many years?
7.
You're gonna have to talk louder.
7 years.
7 years, and you won this race in 2012.
2011.
See, I told you I shouldn't even done this intro. Go into a little bit about your background, and then a funny story that you shared with Mike and I in Chattanooga a few weeks ago was how you actually stumbled upon our podcast and your first reaction to reading the fact that it was called Crushing Iron.
Yes.
Yeah, go through that story because I thought it was pretty funny.
Well, for those of you who don't know, my name's Jessica Jacobs. I served in the military and the Army for 8 years, and then upon getting out, had really no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I became I was doing well as an age group athlete and decided, let's do this professional thing during my 30s. And my husband was very, very, very supportive, and we got on board with it. And with being in the military career, I've followed him around all over. And this last duty assignment was 2 years in Korea. And I was back to, I had retired after, while I had my son. I decided I was hitting 40. I was going to retire from professional, but I always still loved triathlon and wanted to continue to train and maybe go back to be an age grouper. So I was living in Korea and driving around. There's not a lot of English-speaking music stations, as you can imagine. And I started listening, and people would always talk about podcasts are great. So I was like, okay, triathlon podcasts. And I'm sure a lot of you have looked at some, and there was not a lot I was really interested in. And I come across one that says Crushing Iron, and I'm like, great. A bunch of,
Sounds like a bodybuilding podcast, really. I mean, if you think about it.
And I think the logo is a back with like a sunburn on it. And I was like, great, I'm going to listen. Okay, what are these 2 douchebags going to teach me? And I honestly don't know.
You're not the first person that's had that thought, I can tell you that.
So let me go back and say, some of the podcasts I've listened to, and I obviously will never, ever say any names, but it was just very, they were kind of like, you have to, every day has got to be beat yesterday, and you've got to do this, and every day. And I was just like, is that really realistic? I'm a mother of 2. My husband's in the military. Every day I'm not going to beat yesterday. Some days I'm going to be waking up at 2 a.m, taking care of a son. Some days I'm going to be traveling from Korea back to the United States. It's just not always going to happen. But I started listening to these guys, and I honestly don't know which podcast I listened to first. I just looked at the title. But I went from listening to them in my drives to work to listening to my long runs. And what really got me to reach out to Robbie was I'm of the swim, bike, run. The swim has always been my Achilles heel. I didn't grow up. I didn't learn to properly swim till I was 28 years old. So, I listened to I think it was one of his How to Not Suck at Swimming, number 3. I didn't even go to the first one. I just jumped into number 3. And
classic.
I was like,
yeah,
this guy, I was like, this makes sense. Okay, I like what he's saying to me. I like what he's telling. So I reached out to him, and you tell me, what did I first say in my email to you? I was just like, crushing iron.
She did. I mean, you can see air quotes right now, but she did she was like, I'm reaching out to you for swimming, but basically it was like, what the hell is your podcast called Crushing Iron for? And then you basically interviewed me to see if I'd be a good fit for you by swim coaching you for 3 months.
Yeah. I just was like,
it was a soft interview. I knew what you were doing, but you were like, let me see if this guy we're going to mesh, because
you got to shop around.
Listen, I'm not everybody's
and
cup
now
of
there's
tea.
chocolate.
Yeah, now there's chocolate. But I did. I reached out and I was like, could you do a swim analysis? I really need someone to take an eye at it, and started from there. And
How'd that look, by the way?
How was
How did her form look?
Yeah.
I mean, it's better now.
It's better now. Okay.
No, to be fair, it's actually a good point. It's like, so it's always interesting when people think that they don't need, like, that the swim. This is what we're not gonna make this like how not good swimming. Oh, hello. Is that everybody thinks that like they don't need help with their swimming, and I found it interesting to have someone that of your caliber with your experience thinking, all right, even though I'm not racing professionally at the moment, I'm still not done getting better, and I still want to get this figured out. Whereas there's a lot of age group athletes who probably think, oh, I've been swimming for like 2 years, I can get in the pool and I can swim like 3,000 straight. I'm just not going to get any better, and this is how it's going to be. And you have somebody like yourself who's raced professionally and been very successful, living in Korea, mother of 2, still, and you're like, yeah, I'm not done, still trying to figure this out. And that's what stuck out to me. I mean, the form, we made some tweaks, but it was I simplified it in a lot of ways. But that was the thing. But yeah, I mean, long story short, she looked pretty good. Solid. Yeah, she looks better now.
All right,
good
she
enough.
does. You're looking
Good
good.
enough. Thank you.
I think your swim looks great too.
Thank you.
I've never seen it.
That's why he's the likable one.
I will see it Sunday.
Yes, you'll see the back of it.
Draft.
Oh! Shots fired.
Whoa.
Yep, you'll see the back of it. You'll see that strong finish.
I thought
You
I
can
was
get in
going to
the
be your
wake.
Thomas Steve. Yeah, I will. I'll draft you all day. Even on the bike for about 5 minutes.
Your saran wrap.
We're in the no passing zone with my saran wrap. Hey, don't be laughing if that stuff's flapping in your face.
Man, I'm just going to step aside here and bring the gloves in.
We got tight yesterday out of the drive. We drove the bike course yesterday.
Yes.
What did
yes.
you? What was your?
What did you think about Jessica's driving?
I'm just glad to be back at the hotel. I mean, that bike course is tough enough and on a bike, and evidently in the car it's a little trickier. I mean, if you go in the right lanes, it's good.
Those turns come up fast. All I can tell you, those down,
Yeah.
downhill
And I was
turns.
on the passenger side, so I was almost off the hay bales aren't out yet either. So
no, but going back to I started out as an age group athlete, turned professional. After about, I had great, ups and downs in like any career. You're going to have great days, you're going to have bad days. And when I left, I was like, time to have one more baby. There's a 10-year gap between my 2 kids. My husband being in the military, we always were like, I didn't want to have a deployment baby. And with my career as a professional athlete, as a female, when's a good time to have one? Started knocking on the door of 40, and I just knew I didn't want to play Russian roulette with having kids later on in age. And so I just looked at my husband, and as I was getting towards the last 2 years of my professional career, that's when the point system for professionals was coming into play, where you had to have so many points to make it to Kona. And I believe I was discussing this with Tommy last night, where it turned into you were chasing points all year round. I mean, in 2011, I had won 2 Ironman back to back within 8 weeks, and that still wasn't enough points to make it to Kona. Nowhere near. I had to then turn around and decide with my coach and my agent, okay, let's go to New Zealand in March and then stay there 5 more weeks and then do Melbourne 5 weeks later in order to make sure you have enough points. So you're looking at, if you look at the timeline from September to April, I did 4 Ironman in a 6-month period.
Not recommended.
And my point is
do it, Chuck.
You burned. I burned
doable.
out. I was just it was turning into a job. And even though, yes, it was my job, you're traveling all over the world. It was just, it got to be a lot. And then injuries were starting to sneak in a little bit more. And it was here, and I'll get a little personal, that it was here in 2013 I couldn't do the race. I literally had a panic attack the night before and woke up just 3 a.m, just shaking, because I was just like, when you're on the top, the only way you can go is down. And I'm sure a lot of you being successful in any venture of your life, you've known that. And you put this pressure on yourself. You're thinking, okay, I have to do it for my sponsors. I have to do it for people. They depend on it. I've won this race. I've got to do it again. If I don't, I've lost. And I walked away and I absolutely hated it. I was like, yep, I'm going to have another baby. But in the back of my mind, I was like, I needed to do this for my own sanity almost, because I couldn't race anymore. And luckily, I still always had the love of triathlon. I was never that athlete that walked away and didn't want to do the sport ever again, like you hear with other athletes. But I had a really good friend that did tell me, and I confided in him, because it was kind of like this hidden secret. Like, who doesn't want to swim, bike, run when they've done it? They got to do it professionally. You should be so lucky. And he said to me, there's a lot of Olympians and a lot of professional athletes that when their career is over, they go through a depression. He's like, you're not alone, but it's going to take you a good 2 years to figure out who you are again. And I went through an identity crisis, and I stepped away, didn't race, but I always trained. Because what do you do? What else do you do at 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning when you wake up? You're like, oh, it's a part of your DNA. And I thought about, well, maybe I'll do some CrossFit, or maybe and nothing was the same as swim, bike, run. And I think it's because it's something I've done for such a long time. I grew up as a runner, so it is a part of my DNA, but it's also something so simple. It's something you do as a kid, or hopefully most kids do, is they jump in the pool or the lake at their summer home. They can ride on their bike, go to their friend's house, go to the park, and who can't run? All you need is a pair of shoes, really. And that's why I always loved it, because it's extremely, and it's something I can still share with my own kids. And I found the love again, and I tentatively was like, I want to go back and race again. But I was so afraid people would say, well, you were a pro. You shouldn't race. You shouldn't go back to age group, but that's not fair. And to those people, I want to say, screw you. But because...
Hold on a second. Screw you. I'll say it for you.
Because I can tell you right now, and I'm sure a lot of you can see this, there are age groupers out there that train like pros. So why can't I go back and have a second chance at still racing and race until 60, 70, 80, whenever I don't feel like it anymore? And so now I'm in the 40 to 44 age group, yay. And I can tell you, what'd you say? Shit. No, but
I'll wear her out on the bike.
But I can tell you, I've gotten back to loving it again, and a lot of it has to do with this community of people. I love how inclusive triathlon can be. And I'll I'll tell Robbie, I'll be like, I want to go and do this little mom and pop race down in like a no name race, not only to support the local community, but like I did this race in a little town in Wisconsin this summer, and there was a guy on a mountain bike. So it's just proof you don't need like a $10,000 bike to still be a part of this sport. And I want to get that out to people, because I think, it is intimidating. Some people, I don't have the money to buy that, and I don't have the 18, 20 hours to train. You can do it, but just don't forget what your why is. Don't forget what your goals are, and don't get caught up in other people's, because you don't know what kind of day they've had. You don't know what kind of talents they were served. And you just got to go with whatever God gave you on that given day, or what he gave you when you were born. And to Robbie's point is, yeah, I still want to get better, of course. Am I going to have the same times I had as a professional? Probably not. But I'm going to have the best times I can have on that given day, because in the words of Steve Prefontaine, you know it, right? What is it?
He has a lot
I
of
know
words.
Steve Pront. I know him. I didn't know him.
To not give your best is to sacrifice the gift. And I don't think that has a timeline on it. Like, well, I'm not in my 20s or my 30s anymore, so I'm just on the downward curve. You still have to give your best on that day. And that's what I preach to my kids, so I have to live that out.
Mike, I think one of us is going to get voted off the podcast. They talk about always hiring your replacement. Yeah,
voted off the island.
One of us is going to get voted off.
I'll just work the camera.
Here pretty soon. But I think it's just a great testament, I think, of how we talked about this last night on the walk back from not having fudge and ice cream.
No.
But
no.
we were talking about like you could, as a professional, you could have a fitness level that's up here, but if you're racing and you're mentally and emotionally burnt out and you're not engaged and you feel all this pressure, it's down here that when those kind of meet in the middle, it's actually probably a negative and a drop below what it would be if your fitness level was just a little bit below that, but you're emotionally and mentally so much happier and so much more engaged, you can actually race better than you would feeling frozen or feeling with the amount of pressure. And so I think it's a great lesson for age groupers that put that much pressure on themselves, that train 20 to 24 hours a week and sacrifice so much to not feel fulfilled because they have that amount of pressure on themselves. I think it's a great lesson. We could probably wrap it up right there, and it'd probably be better. But open up to Q&A.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good. I have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
First, is this as stressful as like a pro panel?
Oh my God. The pro panel, you get the same canned questions. What do you eat the night before?
What do you eat the night before?
The night before?
Yeah. What are you going to eat the night before?
Probably pizza.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pineapple or no?
Uh-oh.
Pineapple or no pineapple?
No pineapple.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. You're not gonna censor that one, are you?
I just muted you.
Yeah, that's right.
You went out red on that, man. That's pretty excited about no pineapple.
No pineapple.
I'm a moderate pineapple enthusiast.
Moderate pineapple guy.
Yeah. Yes, we open it up to questions.
Yeah. So
any questions?
Whoa. Quick.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Hey,
Let's
repeat the question.
Yeah. Let's just ask your question and no, hold on, Mark.
He's excited.
Rein him in a little bit.
First name, because we'll butcher some of your last names. So first name and then where you're from and your question.
Mark, Fort Wayne, Indiana. First time coaching under Robbie. Excellent. When you won here in a minute span, how was that feeling of that day?
Oh my God, I love that question.
Hold on,
I've been
hold-
asked that.
We got Mark from Fort Wayne asks, when you won here,
Yeah.
how did that feel in that moment? Was that the question?
It's
How'd the day unfold?
okay. Well, great question, and I'm glad you asked it because I'll tell you the story. I was 12 minutes back from first place out of the water. 12 minutes. That's a mile and a half on the on a run for me, and all day long you're just like, okay. And I think I was in fifth for female pros, and so I was getting all the women, but I was still 12 minutes back from Meredith Kessler, and she's a dynamite cyclist and swimmer, and I always had to keep that in the back of my mind where I'm like, okay, but I'm a better runner. I don't know how much better, but and by the time I got to the marathon, I was still 12 minutes back, and you're just like, oh my God, still 12 minutes, and you're starting a marathon, and you're like, okay. And I was starting to think, okay, I'm going to be in second today. Let's hang on to second place. 12 minutes is a lot of time to make up. And I was getting, 6 mile mark. Hey, you're 10 minutes back. And I was like, okay. I cut 2 minutes into her. Great. All of a sudden, by 8 miles, I was, okay, you're 9 minutes into her. By the halfway mark, 5 minutes. And I was like, ooh, okay. And by the observatory where you go up the hill, that's like mile 18, 90 seconds. And then by mile 20, I caught her. I got there's out and backs, and I was starting to see her, and I saw her form anyway. And I love Meredith to death, and she's a phenomenal athlete. But when you're racing, you're going to war. And it was mile 20, and I caught her, and that's a long day to be patient, but you've got to be patient because so much. I mean, beginning of the marathon, I was like, oh, I'm in second place. I have 26.2 miles, you've got a lot of time. And I'm so grateful that I just stuck to my own plan and I didn't try to attack too early.
Say it one more time.
Stuck to my plan.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then, thank God, hung on for dear life. In 2011, that was a very special year because that was the year my father died. He died in March. And so I had a huge contingent I'm from Green Bay, Wisconsin, so I had a lot of people here to cheer. And I remember at mile 24, I was hurting. I was like, and I had no idea how far back Meredith was. She was going to have a surge. She was going to come back and get me. And I just said, Dad, carry me. Please just carry me. And the crowd literally will carry you to the finish line. And I to this day will say I didn't feel anything those last 2 miles because I was like, Dad's carrying me, And we got to the finish line. And for those of you who I'm Christian and I believe in heaven. And if you believe in heaven, the finish line in Wisconsin is as if you are all your family and friends are in heaven waiting for you. And they're cheering you on and they're telling you to come. If that's what heaven is like, I will be so incredibly happy because you will feel the last mile and a half, 2 miles, it gets louder and louder and they're just carrying you in and they're welcoming you home. And this is Ironman number 27 for me. There is no other finish line like this one. And I've done the World Championships. I've gone around the world. This is so incredibly special. And if you come see me on Monday, you say, nope, it wasn't, I'll give you your money back. But that was a very special day. It was also the anniversary of 9/11, the 10-year anniversary. And my husband was in Iraq. So Mike Riley is talking to him as I'm coming into the finish line. And he's like, your wife is coming.
Oh, wow.
He was on the phone and, and it was, so you had, I can tell you that it was of my 3 Ironman wins. This one was by far, it was very special. Very special. So I hope you guys have, no matter if you come in 8, 9, 17 hours, the people are here to welcome you home. And I think months ago, I was still living in Korea, so had to be in May or time frame. Robbie out of the blue asked me, what's your goal for Wisconsin? And I was like taken off guard because it's so far off. It was so far away. And I was like, oh my God, what are my goals? And it gave me that nervous feeling in my stomach because I've had coaches who, have wanted to know my times and what are my watts going to be? And, are you going for the win? Da, da, da. And I don't exactly remember what I said to him, but I think I was like, Robbie, I just want to go out and do my best on that day. I want to have fun. And when I finish, I want to quickly have a beer and then I want to run out and cheer on the course to all the other athletes that are C26, everybody, but C26 athletes. Because I'm back to being what I remembered what this sport was about. When I was a pro, it was all about me, 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 me. And I hated it because it was so selfish and self-absorbing. And I didn't feel like I was a part of a team and a part of a group of people that are going through the same problem. Like, I'll be out there and you guys are going to have wonderful emotions. And then you're going to have highs and then you're going to have really lows. And I'll be able to be like, Alicia's going through the same thing I'm going through. Okay, let's go out there. Let's do this. Mike, he's dealing with this hill too. We're feeling the same pain. You kind of have this sorority and a fraternity of pain together. And, you know, at the end of the day, we get to do this. You know, how many people can say, like, we're like, what, 1% of the world does Ironman? This is pretty special to be able to get to this starting line and then to get to the finish line. You could do anything for 17 hours, for real. I think I was in labor for 36, so for real.
Yeah, guys.
Take that.
All right, well, we'll wrap it up after that
All
question.
right. Thank you for joining
And
us.
yeah,
I'm
good
so
luck
long
following that
winded.
one. Yeah. All right. Everybody's scared to ask one now. Yeah,
Right.
Cody.
Cody, I'm from North Carolina. Super technical question. What pizza is optimal for pre-race at what location locally? And what beer is the best recovery beer?
So Cody from, you guys are in Charlotte now? Same thing, Raleigh. Wants to know specifically what is the best local pizza exactly for recovery? No, for pre-race, and
Pre-race.
then what is
Beer.
going to be your post-race beer, and from where? I'm guessing that's
the
for you.
pizza. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't. Ian's, is that what you said? Okay, we'll go with Ian's. I guess. I don't know. Does anybody here know? Ian's is the
Ian's
way.
has got good
okay?
pizza.
You heard it. Ian's. It's right walking distance from here.
Gonna get some now.
Yeah.
And our new
Ian's, you better
sponsors.
prepare.
Right,
Yeah, it's like you're going to get a rush here soon.
Sponsored by Ian's.
Sponsored by
And
Ian's.
then
There we go. Sponsors.
I'm a Blue Moon. I love Blue Moon. So anything with that.
Weak.
If those of you who aren't from Wisconsin,
Wow.
Lining Kugels is awesome. And they've got some good shandies. So
Some good
Spotted
shinies.
No spotted cow, you're not going there, huh?
Cow, I'll go there.
yeah, anywhere.
Okay.
Anybody else? Greg. From Chicago, soon to be Tempe, Arizona.
Yes.
Wow. I didn't know. Breaking news.
Sometimes I chit chat with people on the course. Sometimes people think it's gamesmanship. Sometimes it's not. So I'm always kind of wondering. I'm really fascinated. Like, do pros support? Is there gamesmanship? What kind of chit chat happens on the course?
So Greg from Chicago, soon to be Tempe, would like to know: do pros chit chat or talk smack?
I never talk smack on the court. I didn't. I. That's not how I. There's going to be people like anybody. You're going to have a camaraderie with, and then some people who come on and game face, and they don't want to be friendly. They're here. They're focused. Yeah. I'm a firm believer. Whenever I'm passing somebody on the bike or the run, I always say good job. Unless it's like
Unless it's mine.
Then it's smack talk.
It's smack talk.
You're nice. So you're nice out there. Niceties disguised as smack talk, maybe?
well, I mean, and you know, you have some people are like, oh, God, you know, because it's like you're going by and you're like, good job, and you know, you're not breathing hard and they're hurting and they're like, oh my God, that looks so good. So to them, it could be mentally, but at the end of the day, I can't control how they feel but I mean, no, I've always had a good, you know, you look good or come with me. I've had a lot of times where some people on the run, come on, come with me. And if anything, it's to make it easier with you because then you can help each other out. That's how I view it. I'm sure there's, you know, you got the top guys in Kona. They may have a completely different strategy and stuff, but I was never
they
in that.
do.
Yeah.
I don't
know it.
know. Why are you looking at me?
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
You
sure
know
the
their
pros.
secrets?
I know a lot of the pro secrets, but they will not be unveiled today because I've got a race. Oh.
Go ahead, Sam. Well, I just want to say something real quick. Everybody turn around and look at Sam. So if you're not here, obviously you're listening. Sam's he's from the UK. He's a taller, fairly somewhat attractive individual. So for the last 2 days, we've been in Wisconsin. We've been running around, and we've been running around like the UW campus. And I'm getting these looks like, all the girls are looking at Sam and they're like, "Oh, he's running with his dad." That's been the last 48 hours of my life. So yeah, yeah. So anyway, go ahead, Sam.
For both the athletes on the panel who are racing on Sunday, it's obviously a very long day out there for no matter whether you finish in 8 hours or 17. What are some of the mental cues or mantras that you're both going to be returning to during the race when you need that moment of strength?
And I'm going to answer this seriously. What? Oh, repeat his question. What was it again?
Sam from Chicago was asking Mike and Jessica both that are racing, what are their mantras going to be, like they're going to keep going back to over the course of the day to keep them going?
The mantra thing, I don't know. That could come about during the race, depending on how I feel. But the one thing I do go back to all the time is my breathing. I'm a race by feel person, so when I'm out there, I really do focus on breathing deep. So because I think a lot of times we get kind of caught up in the tension of the bike ride or the swim and your arms, and you start breathing shallow. Same on the run, I suppose. But my secret is to sort of just breathe below the navel. I really try to go deep like that, and I think it really helps me relax, because that will be my mantra in a lot of ways, is just to relax, because it's so easy to get tense out there, especially in the neck and the upper body. And for me, I just perform so much better when I'm relaxed in general, and especially, because you're not sprinting and there's no urgency in that regard so much, at least not for me. I don't know. The last few miles, you just kind of throw it down as much as you can, but that's basically it. I just really try to stay in the moment as much as I can, and look around but not look around, especially on that bike course, because you got to be paying attention. So I just want to be in the moment.
That's very, very similar for me. One of the things that I'll tell athletes I coach and I tell myself is put it on the shelf. Something bad happens. If it was I got hit in the face, put it on the shelf. I don't want to hear it. Next. And stay in that moment, because you are going to have really, really high highs and you're going to have really, really low lows. And it's best to just try to stay in that 80% of if you are getting low, have the mental fortitude to say, okay, why am I low? Probably low on calories. The moment you guys get emotional out there, it's probably because you're getting hungry. It's the Snickers bar commercial is very true. And but also if you start to get elated and ahead of yourself, oh my God, the run's you're at mile 40 of the bike and you're already thinking about the run, you can't. You gotta stay. Swim. When you're swimming, swim. When you're biking, bike. When you're running, run. So if you didn't have a great bike, don't be thinking about that on the run. It's over. There's nothing you can do about it. Maybe on Monday and Tuesday you can discuss it with Robbie or your coach or whatever, or afterwards. But while you're in that, and don't feel sorry for yourself, because it's done. There's nothing you can do about it. Learn the lesson afterwards. And then the other thing I learned that I love to say to myself is grateful. I'm so incredibly grateful. At the age of 42, there's not always a guarantee that I can. I've had many races where I've had to cancel because life gets in the way. We move to another duty assignment and I just can't make to the race. An injury happens. Something happens with family. So to be grateful to be able to make it to a race, nothing should be taken for granted. And you never know when your last race might be. So if it ends up, heaven forbid, being your last race, you can always go out on a good note. That's my take.
Glenn?
Glenn from Chicago. It's controversial. I'm going to go no watch with the run. You do watch or run?
No watch.
Preach.
No watch.
That was Glenn from, where are you again? Where from, Glenn? Yeah, he'll say Chicago. He wanted to ask Jessica if she didn't wear a watch or wore a watch.
No watch.
No watch, baby.
I'm not wearing.
Why is that controversial?
Because I think a lot of people are addicted to the technology.
It's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer. Wow.
It's a no-brainer.
Ooh.
to not wear the watch. Okay? If you're worried about going out too fast, have your friends and family say, slow down when they see you. And I can tell you for a fact that everybody that's going to be out there cheering wearing any C26 gear is going to get a stern talking to from me. That their spectating mantra is going to be slow down coming out of transition at a T2. Slow down. But why wear a watch on the marathon? Strava.
Yeah.
Strava.
Let's get in my steps.
You can put it in your kit.
I want to see how many calories I burned.
Step count challenge.
My step challenge. Got to get my steps in today. Well, I mean, and another bonus for not wearing it is that when you're sitting after you've finished your race, you've done awesome, you're having your Snickers and Coke, you don't look down your Garmin, it says time to move after like an hour. It's another reason not to have it on.
No.
Anybody else? Cody, you're racking it up. Cody from Charlotte.
You're after the race and everything's calmed down, and this is for everybody who's doing races up there. Your after race kind of offload of everything that happened. Do you lean more technical or more emotional into how you felt on the race, and how do you go back to visit that for your next race to better prep yourself?
That is a wonderful question.
That's good.
That's again from Cody in Raleigh. Wants to know for Jessica and Mike, when they are done with the event, will they go back and analyze the emotional and mental aspects and the responses or the outcomes? Is that right? The racing, performance outcome, and then how will they use that to determine the next steps moving forward to next races?
I personally always my successes or my failures 90% of the time come down to what's going on between my ears. Very few times is it like, oh, I should have ridden at that cadence. No. And I luckily, knock on wood, haven't had any huge mechanical issues where I've been like, yeah, I was on the side of the road for 45 minutes waiting for, my tire to get fixed. What I've found is I can't, okay, you go back and you go, okay, this is where I was starting to say negative things to myself. This is how I need to change that. Okay, when I start feeling like this, what am I going to instantly, and here's the deal, guys, you are going to have bad slumps. You are. It's going to happen. There's never been a race where I've been like sunshine and unicorns all day long, okay? You need to be prepared and say, okay, when this happens, what am I going to say to myself? What's going to pull me out of this hole? And that's where you have to figure out what's the mantra, what's the verbiage. And I almost do, I have different ones for different parts of the race, because what would excite me or get me moving by the end of the day might become very blasé. So you got to kind of switch your gear. And there's so many tricks out there. I mean, I've known, I think it was Andrew Starkowitz one time told me, for every buoy on the swim, he assigns, it's an alphabet, and he assigns something to say to himself at that buoy, or somebody to think about at that buoy. So whatever gets you going, do it. It doesn't matter. You could be like, hey, Mike's going to think about Maddie at M, this dog, I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, you just got to figure out what works for you and what's your shtick. And hey, if it works, it works. What about you?
Post race.
You think about technical or?
First thing I think about is a nap.
He does not think technical.
No technical. I mean, I can honestly say that I've been fairly pleased with most of my Ironman races. I think that every one of them have come down to me not hitting nutrition right, especially on the bike and then to the run. Well, that and not being quite in good enough shape. But
It's always a big factor.
Big factors. You want to be in shape and you want to eat right out on the course.
So for the newbies out there, we want to be in shape and we want to get fueling down.
See, I'm just taking it. I'm sorry to take it so deep. But yeah. So honestly, I do not reflect on the race afterwards. I just find people I like and love and hang out and just enjoy and go back and, just celebrate all the way to the end. That's late. I mean, I didn't always do that, but now I go back and I'm there at the end of it. And it's just like, that's enough sort of for me. It's to just keep going. I think that you reflect on strategies and for me, it's always kind of about like, man, could I have trained a little bit more? It's usually, I feel like that's kind of what it goes back to a lot. I don't, although last year I spent way too much time in the finisher chute. That could have probably helped my time a little bit. And also last year they lost my bag going into T1, so that was a problem. But I mean, those are things that, what are you going to do? But I'm just like, I got to reflect back on the finish line. And of course, this was my first Ironman, and what you said about the last 2 miles and just being carried is unbelievable. You kind of come out of this out and back, sort of in a park, and then the next thing you're on a road, and then you're back by, like, for me, you're on Camp Randall, and it's the stadium, and I'm a Badger fan or whatever. But that's about where you kind of start feeling the energy of the finish. Mm-hmm. And then you're coming in, and the minute you hit the bottom of State Street, it is over, man. It's almost like, I don't know.
It's like a gravity that pulls you in.
Yeah, it pulls you up that little State Street thing and around the Capitol, and there's nothing that can hold you back, I feel like, at that point. I mean, so for me, it's just like that feeling, and I don't really reflect that hard. It's just
I think,
a done deal.
what?
It's a relief to me.
So for the newbies out there, fitness, fueling, and don't reflect hard.
Yeah.
You know what I will say though, Cody, I think we're so there's a fine line. When I won a race, a 70.3, and it was 2 days after, and I was talking to my agent, and I was just like, she's like, "Oh, I'm so happy for you," and da da da. And I said, "Yeah, but I got to tell you something. When I crossed the finish line, my first thought was, did I beat my competition by enough?" And she goes, "You need to stop right there, because you're going to dig yourself a hole. You can only go to the well so many times in your career. And those that go to the well, you can see that with some of the athletes where they're like, okay, like some of the female athletes, okay, I beat all my competition, but what place did I come in amongst men? Or how close did I get to the record? Or did I smash the course record?" And it's like, you don't get any bonus money for that. And that's what she said to me. She goes, "Who cares? You beat him. Beat him by 1 second. You won." But I really wanted to put a stamp on it and show how strong I was. She's like, "You're going to burn out. And you don't want to get too selfish. So you've got to be happy with where you are. And you always have to remember where you came from. Because it's so easy to compare ourselves to, well, this guy's doing this, and this guy's swimming that, and this person's biking this. But look how far you've come after, this injury, or you just started 6 months ago, or you've taken on a new job. You have to look at your life and compare yourself to yourself. And that's it. And the other thing you have to remember is NBC. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. You're not curing cancer. You're not a Green Bay Packer. You're not. No, but at the end of the day, in the grand scheme of things, like a lot of times people will ask, triathlon. Oh, okay. So like, you do what again? Like they don't even know. You swim, you bike, you run. They don't know the distance. It's like a marathon, right? Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's a 5K.
Yes.
Yeah, when you're running.
I've done one of those Ironmans. Oh, really? Yeah, I was down the street. No, you didn't. You did a sprint.
Yes. Dawn, right?
Out of curiosity, after everything that's been said, what could you recommend for a first-time participant?
Have fun.
Yeah. I mean, I think, the question was for biggest advice for a first-time participant is 100% have fun. Like, there's not even like a list beyond that, in my opinion. Soak it in, and as they've said both, like, this is a special venue, and if you don't, like, have fun, then you're going to regret taking it too seriously because you're going to forget. Not forget because you didn't get to experience it. You're just gonna. It's a huge experience, and if you're too stressed out on the being so serious and the outcome, then you're gonna miss the whole experience. And it is an experience that you'll never forget, but it'll only be one you never forget if you're in the moment.
You only get to be a virgin once.
Ooh.
So,
Yeah,
back
that's for
to
the newbies too.
And on that, it is.
But you-
One more mantra. Speaking of bike courses, or the bike course, my mantra out there, I've just decided after we drove it yesterday, is just to always, whenever I see a new hill, I'm just going to start laughing.
So you're gonna laugh for like 5.5 hours.
Basically, yeah. But
It's gonna be laughing the entire time.
This is funny. This is real funny.
cute.
What about for turns? Giggles?
No,
Shits and giggles.
Yeah. Laughs and giggles.
I'm just going to see how close I can get to the hay bales.
Yeah.
No. But no, seriously, I think it's a really fair
Yes.
fair bike course. It's challenging, but it's still my favorite bike course or bike ride ever. Both times I've done it. So just enjoy that too.
Yeah.
You know,
You won't get bored.
enjoy that. There's some, a lot of farmland and everything like that, but there's a lot of good people out there, and if looks like the weather is going to cooperate, so hopefully a lot will be out there supporting us, and I look forward to that. It's a lot of fun.
For you, the first timers, and anybody competing, if this is number 50 for you, it's very hard to be in a bad mood when you smile, and it's very hard to be in a bad mood when you thank a volunteer or somebody passes you. Instead of going and wallowing and I'm getting so slow, another person passed me, be like, good job, you look awesome. A rising tide lifts all boats, and it's really hard to be in a bad mood when you're being nice. I don't know. That's what
You hear that, man?
Don't look at me. Listen. So if you're gonna go there, I'm gonna go back. So
All right.
I have to give myself some credit because yesterday you were like in an incredibly grumpy mood yesterday.
Yeah, I've 3 or 4 times lately
Yeah,
with
so
you.
I
I've been
usually get like
saucy.
the
Salty.
criticism for being the grumpier, non-politically correct version of this podcast. But I do have to say, yesterday, as we're picking up our gift card for our Tri Club win at the Tri Club booth, Ms. Mike and I think Tommy are there with us. We get to talking, and I'm doing a little more talking than I usually do.
Oh,
And look, I was being kind. They just gave us $1,000. What do you want me to say? Just walk away and leave? Anyway. She goes,
I don't know if it went
you
both
should
ways."
really consider joining in our Ironman U coaching program.
yeah. I know.
And
This is
to my credit,
actually, it was entertaining.
I was incredibly nice in my response, while Mike was like scoffing in the background.
I was just shocked you were actually answering her
I
questions.
was trying to be polite. I didn't say what I was
Mm.
thinking, but
Well, that was the part I could see. I
So I can't.
was like,
filter
why
and
am I
be
even
nice.
watching this right now?
Yeah,
You were nice, and I
you.
was
you were.
just a little testy, man. It's rake week.
It's like so sometimes like the equivalent is like when you take your grandparents out to eat, and they get like their steak like a little bit overcooked. You're like, here they go again. They're gonna like
Yeah.
send their food
No
back,
filter,
and they're
no
like, that's what it was. It was like I'm with my grandpa, and you're gonna send your steak back, and I'm like, oh my god, here we go. Like the steak's a little.
Excuse
too
me, young
well
man.
done. It's done. Any other questions?
and we're gonna
That's
wrap it up. That'll wrap it up.
Yes, Ross. Ross Kaffenberger, everyone from Virginia. And if you haven't, you should listen to his podcast. It's episode
42 or 68.
he has one of my all-time favorite podcasts.
All right.
Thank you.
Years. You've been through a lot together. You've built this amazing community. There's been a dog cast. There's been questionable change in theme songs.
Yeah, I never signed off on that, by the way.
I want to just take a moment to acknowledge just what a great community this is to be a part of, and what you all have accomplished. And I would love for you to reflect maybe on what you are most proud of as part of the Crushing Iron brand and what you guys have built.
Go ahead, Mike.
Do you want to repeat that question?
No, Ross asked, how quickly do you want to cry about talking about your history with Crushing Iron? Is basically what I got from what he was asking. So, Ross
If I wasn't
from
in such a cranky mood, I probably would cry right now.
So
No, I'm kidding. I'm in a good mood.
Yeah, Ross asked.
Thank you, Ross.
Yeah, for in his typical eloquent, awesome way, asked basically for us to reflect on the past 3 years and these 300 podcasts and what that's meant to us. And you're gonna start.
I'll start. Man, I mean, we go back quite a ways. He was my first coach, and that was 2013 on my way here to Ironman, Wisconsin for my first Ironman. And we met about a year before that or so. And he coached me up. He taught me just about everything I know. And then I had to, create my own theories on top of his. But
we're still doing that.
Honestly,
right?
I asked him a zillion questions, and we did I did the race, and he was here, but we went through a lot from that point forward, and then 3 years ago, we decided to launch the podcast, and the rest is kind of history. But for me, the thing I'm most proud of is that we said, hey, let's do this twice a week. And we've actually done it for 3 years. I mean, dude, neither one of us had been that consistent with anything other than maybe waking up every day.
And breathing.
I mean, that is like a miracle in its own right. But secondly, without question, it's this right here. It's the people that we've met through this. Dear God, man. Like, I'll be honest, before we got the podcast going, I was a little bit down on the triathlon world. I mean, we went through some that's back when maybe even you were a little bit bitter.
I was, yeah.
It wasn't always smiles and rainbows like she
People are like, wait, he's not still bitter?
Yeah. So, but we started having camps and meeting people through that. And for me, that was it. This is it. I mean, it's the people coming up here. I wanted to do the race, obviously, but it was like, I can't wait to get to Madison and see everybody that we've met and everyone and then the friends that have met through it all that, they don't even necessarily want to hang out with me, but they want to hang out with each other. Or you know what I mean?
They don't want to hang out with me.
Yeah.
They're like, where's Mike?
So to me, that's it. And then just like, having people stay at my house for camping, strangers like you, Ross. And so that's it, man. It's just, and obviously, I mean, working together every Monday and Thursday on podcasts. I mean, we've done a good job of staying friends, frankly.
Yeah,
and getting tighter. I mean, like, it's a real thing, But we're working it out, and I think it's because we kind of let you guys guide it, to be honest.
Yeah, because we don't need to be driving the ship.
No decisions are made here. They're churned out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fitting that you asked this question. First off, and I'll go back and say is if you've never listened to his podcast, you should listen to it. And I hate you for asking that because I'm probably going to get emotional. So, somebody turn off the Facebook Live. No, I'm kidding. So first off, Madison is like a super special place for me already. It's like, it's the first time I came and I was coaching a fairly large group. This is 6 years ago? 6. But it was also like the worst time of my life ever. Like, it was 2 months before I went to treatment to get sober, and I was like at the bottom, like way at the bottom. And then coming back 3 years ago, with Allie and Hayden was like a whole different experience. And then to come back 3 years later, it's been like a 3-year thing. It's like every 3 years. Maybe I'll have to race it again next year, Allie. But so to have it here is awesome. And I don't know, like it's done a lot for us. You know, I think, I don't know. It's hard for me to put into words because I don't feel like we've really done a lot in terms of like, besides like showing up twice a week for like an hour and talking about things we hope people listen to. Because I honestly, like, I guess I feel that way because I don't feel like we can reciprocate what you guys have done for us by giving you that in return. So it's hard to put into words. But I think looking back like 6 years ago, coming here and being like at the bottom where I was, to come back and, because like when I used to drink, I was like a big time isolated drinker. Like I had you and Allie and like 3 other people, really, very much like no friends, no community, no nothing. And so to have like this,
Love you, Coach.
Yep.
so it's always feels when somebody thanks me for what we've done or for coaching it always feels I don't want to say that I don't feel like I deserve it, but I feel like I can't thank them back enough for what you guys have done for us. Because we've, I've been through a lot and we've been through a ton. He's been my best friend besides Allie for the last 7 years, and we've been through hell and back in a lot of things. And the podcast alone, I mean, I think in this day and age, like, how many of you could say that you get to talk to your best friend on the phone for an hour, for twice a week, every week for 3 years, and what that would do to your relationship or friendship to like have that kind of connection and then to meet people. But I think just getting out of our own way and like you said, people said they wanted camp, so we did camps. People said they want shirts, so we do shirts. People said they want some analysis, we do some analysis. People. So we've done our best to do that, but it's super special. But the friendships and the people are easily the cake. I mean, the coaching is great, and I'm insanely fortunate to work with like so many amazing athletes and just people. But just getting to meet other people and hear the impact that they've had from our podcast for whatever reason, which is sometimes still like mind blowing for me. I'm like, you got that out of our podcast? Sometimes I don't even get that out of our podcast. But yeah, it's special, and we will keep doing this twice a week. One of us will be gone, so probably replaced by Jessica. So I don't know who wants to put our. Do you want to put your notice in? Do you want to get fired? Like, I guess I'll put my notice in, or I can take a hiatus. But no, and so I mean that's probably the best way I can not answer that question fully.
All right, thanks, man.
Anybody else
Now you want.
have like a technical question?
I was just going to say, what is your, Matt Dickinson from Minnesota, what's your most memorable time from any one of your camps?
Well, the first thing that popped in my head was Stu diving on the beach to win.
Oh, I know mine is easy.
But yours is probably better. Although
You were there.
I was there. Oh, good. Whew.
Yeah, you're at camp. Run
Memorable.
camp. So we put on a run camp for the first time this last year, and it still is probably my favorite camp ever. But it was like 60 of us on like this in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee, and beautiful location. We all came in on like a Thursday night or something, Friday, parked, and then nobody left for like 3 days, and we had a lodge that slept 40 people, and we had 6 cabins all rented out, beautiful like run trails, and we had just got done, I think, with like our first or second morning run, and we were out there picking up the signs, and the lodge is probably a good, like, at least half mile away. And we hear this, like, kind of like you were saying, like, you heard when you get like 2 miles away from crossing the finish line here, you could hear this like roar of, like, you can feel like this energy and like this like gravity pulling you towards something. And it was dead quiet. I mean, like, this guy's got like 100 acres. There's nothing out there. So it's dead quiet. There's no city noise. There's no nothing. It was February. It was cold. There was nothing. And we hear this, like, it was like, you drive by like in the distance, like a high school football stadium. Like,
Yeah, that's what it was.
And you're like, and I'm like, what?
We're like, what is that thing?
That? And getting back up there, it was the athletes themselves, without any provoking or suggestion or whatever, had lined up, and they were waiting for everyone to come in and come up like this last hill and clapping and giving high fives and supporting people that, yes, they were in the community, yes, they're on the team, but a lot of them had never met at all, didn't know from Adam until like the night before. And just to feel that like genuine support and kind of emotion from basically strangers, that's easily my most memorable camp moment so far. And besides when you and Amanda stayed at her house, but that's like a close second.
That was strong.
Yeah, that was strong.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. I agree. We both looked at each other. We were out in the middle of nowhere and picking up these signs, and we're like, what is that? And you're like, that's everybody cheering. It was wild. And we actually, that was kind of, I think we hugged.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to tell anybody that.
Oh, okay, my bad.
It was a side hug.
Side hug.
It wasn't full frontal. It was a side hug.
All right, man. Let's thank you so much for joining us, Jessica.
Is there anybody else have like a burning desire? We think we do one more. Is that it? Perfect.
Oh, and there she goes. Everybody, Jessica Jacobs. See you on the course tomorrow. See you
Sunday.
out there Sunday.
You have any closing thoughts?
I don't.
I'll
I mean,
wrap
I
us
think
up.
we've done that, and I think maybe now it's time for your.
Yeah, and because we definitely have totally forgotten that people are listening in their car right now. But yeah, you'll get over it. If this is your first time listening, please go back. You can listen to the rest of our archives. If you want more info on all the other things that we offer, coaching, training plans, swim analysis, our blog, gear, the club, whatever you want, you can go to crushingiron.com and check that out. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, all the concerns, you can go to crushingiron@gmail.com, and that's Mike.
Hey.
For everything else, you can reach out to me directly, c26coach@gmail.com. Everyone participating in Ironman Wisconsin this weekend, Santa Cruz, Lake Placid, Sunshine Coast, wherever you are, good luck. Have fun. Enjoy yourself. And we'll see you on Monday.
Yep. Thanks, buddy. Hey, turn that around and let people see the.
You get so bossy at the end of the podcast.
Sorry, man. I'm just like. Thank you, everybody, for coming. This has been awesome. Good job. I mean, it's 300
Mom, hey,
podcasts,
Dad.
bro. I mean, have you done anything that amazing in your life? Neither have I. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.